I mean, that was a miserable year for me. Every outlaw show we went to, we just got our teeth kicked in. We struggled to make shows everywhere. It wasn't good. I knew I needed to race only sprint cars if I wanted to do it, be a sprint car racer. But after, 70, 60, 70 shows, you're kind of like, of just getting your teeth kicked in every night. It's like exhausting and you're questioning yourself and just not sure if, you're cut out for it or whatever. So yeah, it was a pretty rough time, but I got a ton of valuable seat time.
Green flag in the air.
Hey everyone, and yes, welcome back to Hot Lap with Landman. Finally, I know I've been on about a 3 or 4 week hiatus, and like I've told you guys in the past, I don't know if I've really gone into a lot of detail, but I work 3 or 4 different seasonal jobs during the year. I also do a lot of stuff with Donnie Shots and those guys. And sometimes when my seasonal jobs, they're usually pretty much 6 a.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. A lot of it has to do with the harvesting world, either combining corn and beans in the fall, or I work for as a seasonal worker for Hefty Seeds, which sponsors Caleb Johnson down in the Sioux Falls area on all his cars. Work for the Watertown branch up here, and we're getting corn and bean seed out to those guys like crazy right now. So sometimes life just gets busy, and I just plain don't have time, I'll be honest. But anyway, good to be back this week. Appreciate you guys all being patient with me. Got a great guest on this week, too. We got Ryan Timms on. He's going to come on and tell us all about his career, how he got started, some of the ups and downs and everything in between. We're going to talk a little bit about last weekend at Houston. He had a little bit of a exciting finish to his race, not the outcome he wanted, but we're going to talk a little bit about how that all played out. He was super talking about that. Talk about his great season last year and everything else in between too. So excited to get him on, and we're going to get him on here very shortly. If you like what I'm doing, and I hope you do, because I really enjoy doing this for you folks, do me a favor, will you? Share what I'm doing out here so your friends can see it. Subscribe to it. That gets me some more numbers that way too. Like it, comment on it. But the subscribe and the share are going to be the best thing you could do for me. I know everybody sends out that silly plug, but it sure does make a big difference to how our world goes in this little bit of a business that I'm doing, which isn't much business, but just a lot of fun. So as I always say, you know what? Let's not wait around any longer. Let's get Ryan Timms in here and talk about how he got started and what he's doing today. All right, everybody. So like I said in my opener, we've got Ryan Timms in with us today. And Ryan, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm on such short notice.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on here.
You know, I called you yesterday and you had to call me back. You were busy washing the rugs, you said, for the trailer, I'm pretty sure, out in Rapid City. Tell me a little bit about your role with the team out there when you're not sitting behind the wheel of that thing.
Yeah, more so lately I've been working at Shane's trailer shop business during the week. Um I just like to get away from the racing side of things every once in a while. Early all last year, I went out to the shop every day and would work on the cars and get everything help get everything ready. Um, but I'm doing a little road trip this week, so I figured I'd spend my day in Rapid helping the guys get everything washed and ready for this weekend.
Yeah, and you said you, unfortunately, we're heading out to Indianapolis. I believe that's where your motor guys are at out there. Heard a motor, I think, this weekend somewhere along the ways.
Yeah, the motor that I'm taking to Speedway in Indiana it's timed out actually, but Houston's was the last night on it, and we broke a U joint and spun it at 9 grand. So we just switched cars, different motor, and didn't want to risk it.
Yeah. Speaking of Houston Speedway, I'd be remiss if people would bag on me if I didn't ask. First of all, do you have a favorite racetrack in the country? Let me ask you that one.
Yeah, Knoxville is my favorite racetrack, as everyone could probably guess.
Yep.
Houston's is also up there in my top 5 of favorite racetracks. Maybe top 3. I honestly got kind of a little bit. It sounds kind of bad to say, but a little bored of Huset's last year, but man, this last weekend I had so much fun with it. I feel like the added banking really made it a lot more, it feels like just faster and just more exciting. So I had a ton of fun at Huset's this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season there.
So I suppose some of the fans are going to want me to ask you: is there any way you guys could just not qualify every week at Huset's and just tag the back of the heat race and come from that 14th, 13th spot where it was you started from, and give us a show every week?
Yeah, I've heard that a few times, but I prefer to qualify.
It'd probably a little easier on you and your car owner Shane too. So, man, if people don't know what we're talking about, you obviously guys, you had some motor problems in warm ups, like you said, you broke a U joint, didn't have time to get it changed or ready for qualifying, and you were in the Group One, so you
Mhm.
had to start tail end of heat race number one, and you in your sense would have to win the heat race to get in the
Yep.
dash with their new format. So, what was your goal? Just once you guys realize you're behind the eight ball a little bit, talk me through the night a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, once we blew that U joint apart, and then obviously I wasn't really too, it was disappointing, but it's kind of like, well, if it's gonna happen, at least it's happening early in the season, and but we're maybe hopefully getting the bad luck out of the way. But it was kind of just forget about it, move on. We need to go get the second car down. So me, Marty, and Dicky, we all hustled out there, and John Cressman, all hustled out there, got the spare car down from up top, and hustled it back in as fast as we could. And luckily, with the street stocks and 305 heat races before us, we had plenty of time. But we got it down there, got everything ready, and then the mindset was just kind of, obviously I need to win to make the dash, but realistically just gain as many spots as possible and put yourself in the best possible position for the A main or B main or whatever the case is. And luckily we had a track that was capable of allowing me to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, you end up fourth in your heat race, and luckily being in the first heat race actually makes a difference too, because that actually picks you up three spots right there. If you're in the fourth heat, you're starting 16th, but you're starting 13th, and you guys line up there, and you see all those fast guys in front of you up there that know their way around the racetrack really good at Houston. It's, obviously Austin McCarl, the Henderson guys, things like that. Um, you got 25 laps at Houston, which can click off pretty fast if
Hmm.
it stays green. Are you instantly on kill when the green drops?
Yeah, it was as soon as the green drops, go where the other guys aren't. And honestly, I was starting on the inside, and I knew it was going to be top dominant for the most part. So it was kind of just pass as many guys as I can on the start on the inside, and then get straight to the top as quickly as possible. And I was able to do that, fortunately, and click off quite a few spots at the beginning. And then, yeah, with Huset's, like you said, it does. The race goes by really quick, and the leaders can get pretty far out there. But at the same time, when you get in lap traffic at Huset's, it's really easy for the top five to get all within the same straightaway there. So my biggest deal was just getting to the front as quickly as possible, and then waiting for lap traffic at that point.
Yeah, and maybe catch a couple gratuitous yellow flags along the way, which did happen to fall for you, probably close to being at the right time.
Yeah, it worked out pretty perfect. I think I got up to about 6th or 7th there, and then, we had a yellow, stacked us all back up, and then was able to pick my way up to the front.
Yeah, and actually, you restarted sixth, and then went about three laps and had another quick yellow. But you actually lost a spot on that first restart and had to get that guy back, and then another one. But anyway, that's just kind of splitting hairs. But just because that's the last race I watched, why it's so fresh. But talk about that. Austin did get out on you
Mhm.
on that restart when you were back in sixth or fifth, and you get to second, and I don't know if you could even see the 88 at the time. Tell me about the closing in on him, and then obviously what happened on the front stretch.
Yeah, so I kinda struggled there, like you said. I lost a spot on that restart, and then we had another restart, 3 to go, or, 3 laps after that, and, I realized what I did wrong. I felt like I, improved or fixed it on that second restart, was able to get up to second there, and, yeah, I couldn't see Austin there for a while. I could see some lap cars in the distance, so I knew lap traffic was coming, and then it was kinda just like he just popped up all of a sudden, and then there's all the lap cars, and it's like, "Alright, here we go. I got a shot here. I think I was just waiting for him. I was following him on the top and was waiting for him to try and make a move on a lap car. And he eventually did. He went down to the bottom. I think he might have missed the bottom or slid himself or something. And I was able to rip the top and gain a ton of momentum on him. Crossed him and then took the lead for about a lap. And then at that point, I'm just kind of in like hustle mode, trying to put as many lap cars between me and him, um, between me and Austin there. And I seen an opportunity. So I seen the 31. He was running the top for it seemed like the 2 or 3 laps before I tried to make the move on him, and so, I'm just assuming he's gonna go back to the top, and then coming out of 4 there, he got tight on the cushion, and he just got kinda, like, all out of shape, like, first he's pointed towards the wall, then the infield, then back to the wall, and I didn't know where he was gonna go, but I'm coming with a full head of steam, and I'm going for the slide job, and he decides, he's got kinda squirrely there on the straightaway, so I think natural instinct was to go to the bottom, and I was coming in full head of steam going to slide him, and we just met, and there's probably a 10-mile-an-hour difference between us, and I seen him coming down. I went to turn to the top to avoid him, and just clipped him, and I got hooked on him. Our bumpers hooked, and just kind of drug him up the track. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I really wasn't upset with him. I really kind of saw it as a racing deal. He didn't know I was there. I didn't expect him to go to the bottom. It just kind of is what it is, really. I felt terrible for taking out the top 4, but I just saw it as a racing deal. That's Huset's, and it happens.
Yeah, and obviously with the cameras, we couldn't see you, but the people who were watching Dirt Vision, you could tell Austin was pretty upset, frustrated, which obviously you're gonna be, you're running up front. Tell me, did you get a chance to visit with Austin about the deal and what his thoughts were? Are you guys good?
Yeah, we're good. If he had a problem, he would have definitely let me know. I never saw him after the race. He never came up and said anything, and the whole time we were parked there, he was yelling at the 31, so I don't think he was mad at me. He was having his own struggles trying to get past him, so I don't think he was mad at me, but I guess we'll see this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So just touch a little bit more on Houston Speedway. You showed up at Houston's, I want to say 6, 7 years ago, probably 14 years old, maybe. And I think you just took a liking to that place right away. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with the Houston Speedway.
Yeah, we picked Houston Speedway to run or to spend so much time at when I was, like you said, 14, due to the fact that you couldn't race many places in a 410 under the age of 16. And Houston seemed to be the closest and the best weekly competition. So it was kind of just the best choice for us. Um, and yeah, I have a great relationship with that track, with the fans, the track crew, just everyone involved with Houston. Everyone there is great people. Um, and it's kind of like my home track for sprint cars, really. I've just always loved that place. I grew up racing micros at Port City Raceway in Tulsa, and I've always compared it to like a sprint car version of Port City. For whatever reason, it was like the first, maybe it took me a time or two, but after that, it seemed like I just got around that place really well. And our 5T car really just got around there. And I've been fortunate enough to have a fast race car every time I've raced there. But I feel like that track just kinda suits my driving style, and I've always loved that place.
One thing you touched on earlier in the deal already here, obviously Huset's has been busting their butts to get a surface that everybody is happy with. And I know they went out of their way on the off season, brought in new dirt and reshaped the track. You touched on it for just a half a second about putting more banking back in the track. And for me, I was raised at Houston Speedway. I've been going there since 1980s, so that tells you how old I am. But and I remember when there used to be, you couldn't hardly even see the wall down in the corners. There was that much banking on
Mm,
it. And I can tell just by sitting in my recliner watching on Dirt Vision Sunday night that they've definitely raised the corners where you don't see as much of the concrete anymore. And
mhm.
tell me what your thoughts were on the new surface.
To be completely honest, I didn't notice a big difference in the actual surface. I felt like the dirt seemed the same, but the shape of it is the same as well, I thought. The only difference I really noticed was the added banking. You can tell for sure over the Dirt Vision broadcast, but in person, to me, it's a night and day difference. It seems like the banking from the bottom to the middle is the same, and then it had that shelf from the upper middle to the wall, and there's no shelf anymore. So you can definitely notice a big difference when you're going around there, especially in really in any, I mean, in hot laps, I noticed it immediately. I felt like we were going 10 mile an hour quicker around there. And then the lap times kind of spoke for themselves. We were getting close to that track record there that was set in '09 by McCarl. So I loved it. I thought it made the racing more kind of cowboy up, I guess. Like you really got to drive the crap out of that thing, and it's the banking is it's a nice little cushion, I guess. You can trust it and know it's gonna stick and not just slide up.
Yeah. And that, like I said, that's the one thing I noticed also. So,
Mhm.
Ryan, what I usually like to do in my shows too, and we've kind of talked a little bit here just because I want to talk about current events and, it just so happened. I have to tell you, my boys hit me up Sunday night before we were racing. I was racing with my boys up here in Watertown and we were in the trailer shooting the breeze and they're like, why haven't you had Ryan Timms on? And I said, actually, I have him on not on my schedule, but I have him on my list. I got his phone number at Volusia this year. And then we come home and we watch a race. I'm like, boom, I think we'll do Ryan Timms this week. So, like I said, I appreciate you, working with me that way. And it was great that you would open up and talk about Sunday night. I know it was a big disappointment for you. I felt you had the winning car or had a very good chance to win it. I know Austin was very competitive too, but probably a big disappointment running out of there. But knowing you're fast had to help just a little bit at Houston's.
Yeah, absolutely. It was disappointing for sure. I should have done a better job after the fact, when I restarted at the back of, keeping my spirits up and trying to get as many spots as I could, but I was pretty beat down and just upset with myself more than anything. And then but yeah, I mean, it was by the time I got home that night, it was hard to be upset with going from 13th to first and knowing we had a winning car and the speed first night out.
Yeah. So my history is I like to talk to people about how they got in to the sport of motor racing. And obviously, you're what? Are you 19 now or 18 still?
I'm 19.
Okay. So you're going to be 20 coming up then, is that right, in June
Yeah, August.
or August? Okay. So anyway, it seems like you've been around a long time. And, take that as a compliment. But I was doing some homework here a little bit before the races. And the one thing, tell me what actually got your attention, got the racing bug? And I'm gonna guess you started pretty young because I can look way back and find stuff for you, but I couldn't quite figure out where, when, and why, but I can tell you've been racing a long time.
Yeah, I started racing when I was 9, so 10 years now. My dad, he raced modifieds and late models, kind of locally, modifieds more locally I mean, before I was born and then when I was a baby. And then my earliest memories of going to the races with him, I can remember maybe 3 or 4 modified races that I was at, and then, I remember him racing the late model a lot, and he raced that a little more nationally. He ran at Knoxville, I think, one time, at I-80 a couple times, and just kinda all over the Midwest, and I went to it seemed like all of his races and grew up, in the toter home, running around the racetrack in the pits with all the other drivers' sons, and, so I've always been around it, and I've never been around sprint car racing when I was younger, but I naturally just wanted to be like my dad and follow in his footsteps and try the racing deal out. So when I was 6 or 7 years old, he bought me a junior sprint, and I live in Rapid City now, but my home is still in, Moore, Oklahoma, and so I-44 Riverside Speedway, that's in Moore, Oklahoma. It was 5 minutes from our house, and it was kinda just the logical thing to do, I guess, for him but he bought me a junior sprint, and then we went out there to practice it when I was 6 or 7, and I got wrecked in practice, I'm pretty sure, like, spun out, and it kinda spooked me, and I was scared every time I went out there, and I just told him like, "This isn't for me. I'll play football or soccer or something." So we took a break from that, and then he started to slow down racing a little bit, and I'm not sure why exactly I wanted to try it again, but I decided one day, I asked him, like, "Why don't we race anymore? Why don't I race? I think I wanna try it again," and it was literally the week after he sold all of my race car stuff, and so he went and he got me another junior sprint, and we tried it again, and it was a really in my mind, from what I remember, it was a really kinda long process to get me up to speed, um, probably a year or 2 where I was just kinda making laps in the back out there, and eventually something just kinda clicked, and, my dad couldn't be involved with it as much as he wanted to with running his trucking company and just all the other responsibilities that he had, so he went and hired, Billy Lawhead from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was working for Sawyer Chassis at the time, I believe. And before that, it was, just my dad and Mike Morrison, who we call Stumpy, who would just take me out to I-44 on the weekends. And then, once we got Billy, he had a good amount of micro knowledge, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so it was kinda just like the stars aligned. Well, I mean, first he came out just for a weekend, and then my dad loved how I assume he loved how, organized Billy was, how much he knew, and realized, like, this guy could take my kid under his wing and, take him racing around the country a little bit. So we loaded up in a trailer, we started racing I-44, Port City every weekend, and then eventually got to where we were running, like, a junior sprint national tour going to Missouri, pretty much everywhere in the Midwest, but we were going all over the place just racing junior sprints and then slowly worked our way up to the micros.
Tell me a little bit about the end of the junior sprint era. Are you up to speed now, and are you feeling starting to feel like, hey, you're excited to go to the track? You're excited to try to win the race instead of just making laps?
Yeah, so it would have been about 2 or 3 years into my junior sprint racing, I think. And actually what it was my grandpa and Billy both told me they would give me 20 bucks every time I passed a car. And I went out for the heat race, started last, and it motivated me to go from last to first. And they ended up paying up, I think. From then on, it was like, oh, I got it figured out. I can pass people. And so, yeah, I got the confidence. And then we had the race car. We had a super fast unit sprint. I remember rolling into anywhere and just knowing or believing that I could win anywhere we went, no matter who was there. And um, it was a good. I got a lot of good memories from that time. But yeah, super confident. We were pretty much dominating the junior sprint races, everywhere we went. We won the Tulsa Shootout in 2000s, and then moved up to restrictor and still raced the junior sprint a little bit, and then it took me maybe 10 races to get up to speed in the restrictor, and then once I got up to speed, it was kinda the same deal.
Traveling all over the country?
Traveling all over the country, and we were just lights out fast in the restrictor deal,
Now,
and then about this Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say about the same time, we started dabbling in non-wing and stock non-wing, stock A class, and running 4 classes a night, um, just racing. I mean, 80 races a year, 4 classes a night. Like we were going nonstop.
Who did you say your mechanic was at the time? Was that the gentleman that your dad got a hold of?
Yep, Billy Lawhead.
Billy Lawhead, yeah. So I got to make sure I get that one wrote down. So I'm not going to call him or nothing, so he doesn't have to worry about that though. So, and I just want to tell you, you said 80 races a year. I got news for you, bud. I did the numbers. You might not be able to see that. You
I
can't.
can't.
2018, 145 events for Ryan Timms. You
Okay,
can
I
go
was a
look
little
that up on
off.
My Race Pass. Yeah. And you think that was a busy year? Let's go to 2019. 173 events. Now, for people who might not realize, you're four classing it some nights, so those all count as an event.
Okay.
But you're getting laps in, boy.
Yeah.
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 Does that surprise you that I told you that?
That does really surprise me, yes. I didn't I had no idea.
Yep. I just went to my race pass and looked at your schedule for those years. 2018 is 145, 2019 is 173, 156, 144, 120, 131, 145, and one of the 145 was in 2024. I don't know what you're racing there besides sprint cars, but you're getting some events in. And last year in 2025, just a pale 101 events. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny, yeah. I knew that last year was the least amount of, races that I ran, but it felt like the most, which was kinda ironic, but
Yeah, no, that was cool. So, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to I thought it was a great time to throw that number out there. You said about
yeah.
80 or 90 races. No, 145.
And you said
But
100 in 2024, how many?
2024 was 145 events.
Really?
So I didn't go back and look at them all, but that means you actually entered a race that had a feature race involved in it. Could have been a, maybe like when you went to the shootout. I don't know, did you go to the shootout in 2024?
Yep.
So you probably ran
I'm not sure,
three or four
honestly.
classes there,
Yeah. Man, yeah, it
and then
seems
the
like a
chili
really high
bowl.
number, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
doubt it.
Yeah, and I was surprised by that number too once because I thought by now you were kind of established into a sprint car only guy by then, but no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, so let's jump back into you've moved up to the restricted micros by then, right? In
Yep.
2018, and
Yep.
are you having success there too then?
Yeah, we were having a lot of success. I think the record actually just got broken at Port City. And this could be wrong, but I think we won 30 something features at Port City in a year. Um, and then we went to the shootout and actually lost to Jade Abedisian and I think Brenham Crouch. But other than that, yeah, we had a lot of success in that. And then we had some success in the stock wing and non-wing and outlaw wing and all that, but not near as much as the restrictor and junior sprint.
Well, when you move up off of that restricted sprint, you got to start racing against adults.
Yeah,
And there's
right.
some really really good micro sprint racers out there. People don't realize that these guys do it for a living.
Yeah, no, it's hardcore that micro deal.
Yeah, definitely. So you play around with that. When do you see your first full size sprint car? And tell me a little bit about how you guys got going with that.
Yeah, my dad was. I mean, my dad pretty much. I just showed up and raced. He kind of decided where we went, what we did. Trying to make the best decisions for my career. And he was on the fence on whether I should go from or whether I should start racing midgets or sprint cars. And I think he decided sprint car first, but pretty much might as well race both. And I want to say it was 2021 was when we got our first sprint car. It was one of Parker Price's car, Triple X, and we did some 360 racing with it. We skipped 305s and just did some ASCS regional stuff, a couple of national races, but we didn't really have a ton of success at the start with that. And then we decided so Billy Lawhead started that deal with me, and then Billy wasn't super knowledgeable about sprint cars, so he knew a racer from Tulsa named Terry Eason, whose crew chief at the time was Jimmy Jones, and he asked Jimmy if he would come out and do a test session with us at Meeker and just help out, show him some things. And the test session went really well, and my dad loved how much Jimmy knew. It was kind of the same deal that happened with Billy, but with Jimmy. And he hired Jimmy on and obviously kept Billy, car chief, crew chief. It was a really
Yep.
good combination. And We moved from the Triple X and bought uh, a couple of brand new Eagles and some brand new riders, FK shocks, just pretty much went all out and started going ASCS national racing. And it seemed like as soon as we got all that new stuff, it just clicked and we started running really well in the 360 stuff everywhere we went. And I don't wanna say dominating, but it kinda seemed like it, for maybe a year. I would say that was 2022 when we started and maybe just had a little success here and there. I don't think I ever won a race in 2020. I could be wrong, a sprint car race, but 20 just came out hot, and it seems like we won everything that year.
I want to just throw a little side note here. You said Jimmy Jones was the guy that Billy got a hold of. And just a little history on Jimmy Jones. Jimmy Jones was Aaron Berryhill's crew chief, 1994. And the Berryhills were right down in the Broken Arrow area. And so that just tells you how much knowledge and experience Jimmy has. You did definitely find a good guy when you got Jimmy Jones.
Yeah. No, it was like it's the craziest thing how the stars aligned with finding Billy and Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, you get racing the 360 deal, and you're starting to, maybe just get a little bit of an eye look from some people around the world. But um, you know, uh, all of a sudden you're in the midget world now too. Tell me about, it's not like it's like a step back or anything like that, but the midget world is the national midget, the USAC deal is huge, and the other midget, I forget who it is right now. Um,
Probably right.
but they, yes, thank you. But you jumped back to the midgets for a while there too, didn't you?
Yeah, I would say it was pretty 50. Go race the midget one weekend, sprint car the next, just kinda juggling between the 2.
Do you think that was good for you to have some adaptability like that, or to get the recognition, or just different aspects of how that might have looked?
Yeah, I think it was good in the sense of the adaptability. I do think the recognition in the midget world isn't very much compared to the sprint car side of things. I feel like I got a lot more recognition from sprint car success than I did midget success. And midget racing just kind of has a bad rep as it is, which is unfortunate because I think midget racing is awesome. But I think it really helped with adaptability. And midget racing is a lot more elbows up and kind of ballsier. Like them guys, them things like to tip over whenever they feel like it. And it's just slide job city at a lot of the midget races, and it's hard racing. And the sprint car deal was slower in a way. Like the sprint car reacts slower, and the racing, I guess, is more respectful, or it's just kind of cleaner a little bit. So to me, the midget just made the sprint car racing easier. And then when you get out of a car that's wanting to kill you every lap, it makes the sprint car feel safer and easier to drive and just makes you appreciate the sprint car a lot more. But I think it did play a huge part, and I think it kept my short track skills up to par in the sprint car deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys definitely you tried out everything, big, small, in between, to get 100 plus races a year in, you're
Yeah.
obviously going all over the country to get those races in. So you show up to Houston Speedway for your first 410 race. And and I know we've talked about Houston in the beginning of the show, but talk about your first time ever driving in the gates of Houston Speedway. And is that your first 410 race ever?
It was not my first 410 race. My first 410 race was at Arizona Speedway, which is shut down now. And yeah, that went terribly, terrible. But
Give us
rolling
just a
to
30-second recap of terrible. You don't have to, we're not looking for
uh,
major details, but was it a bad draw? Was it you didn't know what you were doing? Was it bad track conditions? What, when you say terrible, did you tear some equipment up?
no, everything went okay. Didn't tear nothing up. Um, the track was great. It was just my first 410 race, so it's a pretty big track, and it was just a lot to take in. Rico was there. I don't remember who all was there, but there was a lot of good guys that were racing, and I just didn't stand a chance against them guys, just being thrown to the wolves, basically. But I'm obviously thankful now that I got to experience that. But yeah, it was just a lot to take in, and I just, brand new guy being thrown to the wolves pretty much.
So let me ask you this. You said Rico was there. I'm guessing maybe like Dominic Selzy, some of the California guys might have been there too. Not just guessing, but
Mhm.
are you into the racing scene enough by then that they're familiar with who you are through your microsprint ranks, maybe, or your midget ranks or some 360 stuff? Do you happen to know any of these guys? Or are you just kind of showing up as a total new guy on the block?
No, I'm just showing up as a total new guy. As far as I know, they had no idea who I was, never heard of me, never seen nothing. Maybe they saw on Twitter, like, scrolling through and see a post or something, but I'm pretty new at this point.
Okay. So
Um,
that was your first, was that just a single night show out there then, or did you get to run a couple nights?
no, I want to say it was a 2 or 3 night event.
Okay, so you were good to see that one in the rearview mirror. Is that what you're saying then?
Yeah, pretty much. I was ready to get back in the 360 after that.
So then, when's your next 410 start? Or, I mean, how far into this deal are you before you come to Houston's?
Into 410 racing.
Yeah.
So Arizona was my first race, and then we went to Jacksonville for some MOA shows, Farmington, Missouri for some local shows, and I wanna say that's it. I feel like I remember racing Jackson a few times before I went to Huset's, and it's a little foggy that time, I don't remember it super well.
So what I'm saying is was your dad having to make phone calls ahead of time to say, "Hey, listen, can Ryan race?" Did you have to have permission and all that stuff?
Yeah, we had to have permission, and we had to call everywhere and have permission everywhere we went pretty much.
Yeah. So the
But
reason I keep leading into Huset's is I want to say you were pretty successful there the first time you ever rolled in there, weren't you?
um I don't remember it going super well. From what I remember, it was a 360, either just a 360 race or a 360 10 race. And I wanna say I got wrecked in the 360 deal or ended up wrecking, but I don't remember it being really a very good night, but I'm not sure how that night went, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, it just seemed like for some reason, and I might be wrong too, because, but I just thought, man, it was something that you showed up and just kind of nobody knew who you were, and you just kind of took off, and you were fast right out of the box. But not saying that wasn't possible, but I just know that I think it came pretty quick to you at Houston's.
Yeah, from what I remember, it only took 2 or 3 races to get up to speed there, and yeah, I only ever remember running good there, but that one race, I do remember it didn't go so good.
Exactly. So you continue to jump around. I know you didn't you do a year with Keith Kuntz in the midget also the full USAC deal.
Yeah, I started with Chad Boat and ran a year with him doing Power Eye and then a little bit of USAC stuff, and then, after that, I went with Keith Coons. It was actually just gonna be a 3 or 4 race deal. It was, a little Midwest speed week. I don't know, I forget what they call it, but you go to Meeker, Oklahoma, Fairbury, Nebraska, Beloit, Kansas, and I think that's it. So we ran those 4 races with them. Oh, and Lucas Oil, I ran a week before that. So we ran Lucas
Okay.
Oil, ran all right. Just it was a big, difference in how the car felt, how Keith's car felt versus what I was used to at Chad's, and, so we ran all right at Lucas Oil, and then we end up just I mean, it was really kinda crazy. I just showed up, to Meeker second time in the KKM car and ended up winning my 2nd USAC race, and then ran, like, 2nd at Beloit, and almost won Saturday night, but we were rarely out of the podium. I think we were out of the podium one night, so it was, like, just kinda shocking, and then right after that, Pete Willoughby came up to me and asked if I that was when Buddy Kofoid was driving the house car and
Yep.
asked, "Buddy's gonna be out next year. Would you like to drive the house car?" And I was always a bigger fan of the midget racing than I was sprint car racing, actually. So that was my goal, was to be a KKM house car driver, or what I wanted to do. So it was like a obvious yes for me.
Yeah. And I was going to say, is it, anybody that pays attention to racing knows that Buddy Kofoid was lights out with Keith for a couple years in that house car.
Mhm.
Is it intimidating, or is it, challenging? What's it like coming in as the guy that's replacing Buddy?
Yeah, it was, like, definitely some added pressure. I was a little, I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but I was feeling the pressure. I watched Buddy run for them the last 2 or 3 years. I seen him winning everything, and I knew that's what they expected of me. So, the pressure was big, and, um, honestly, I don't think I really lived up to Buddy's standard while I was there, but we struggled there for at the beginning of the year, and, I was working with Jarrett Martin, who's now the crew chief of Pursley's, KKR car,
Yep.
and we were having some issues, or not issues, not personal issues, just we weren't getting results. And the Pete, I think Pete and Keith, realized it and thought, let's change something up, try something different just for the weekend. It was during Midget Speed Week, and it was actually right in the middle of Indiana Speed Week. I switched crew chiefs. I went to work with Bo Binder and switched cars. I got in the car Buddy was driving for that week. He had to go race a sprint car, I think, and we went to Bloomington was the first race, and we clicked off pretty good. We ran, I think, fifth, and then the next night was Lawrenceburg, which is a awesome racetrack. I love Lawrenceburg. Um, and we ended
Slide
up
Job
winning.
City, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
oh, that place is amazing. And, we ended up
You
winning, and
won
it
there.
was like, yeah, and it was like, "Alright, I guess we're going with Bo from now on."
So was there a different feel to the car, do you think? The way Bo did things compared to Keith and the other guys?
Honestly, I think it was a little bit of, um, like, placebo effect. Like, my confidence was so beat down after running bad for so many races in a row, and then I get with Bo, and it's like it's a new car, and new crew chief, so I just have, like, high hopes, like, "Alright, well, maybe this is the answer," and then, we go out and run good, and it's like my confidence is back.
Yeah. So was that cool with Keith and all those guys are like, "Hey, whatever it takes, we gotta get everybody comfortable."
Yeah, it was, cool with Pete and Keith. I don't think Jarrett was super happy about it, and I felt terrible about it, but, I don't blame Jarrett at all, honestly. I think it was just a change that, worked for whatever reason. The
Yep.
car didn't feel any different. It was just kinda the way it went. I felt terrible about it, but it was also like, well, I wanna win, so.
Yep. Exactly. So you do that deal, and then you come back to the Family 5T then after that? Tell me, I'm kind of foggy. I didn't get a chance to study as much as I usually do, so.
Yeah, so when I was running for Chad Bow, I was running, I wanna say, and I'm probably wrong, but 30 to 40 midget shows a year for Chad. And then when I went over to Keith, I started racing all 3 or 4, it'd be 3 series: Extreme, USAC, and Power Eye, and so that was about 60 midget shows, so it cut into my sprint car racing quite a bit, and I wasn't able to run as much as I wanted to in the sprint car, but we were still, whenever we got the chance, we'd go race the sprint car, and that was when I was doing a lot of my racing at Huset's, and so we were still sprint car racing every now and again, just not as much.
Are you getting a lot of flight time by now? Are you getting plane tickets, or are you just shooing your wherever driving everywhere you go?
It was pretty 50-50. For the midget races, I would fly to a lot of them, yeah, getting a lot of flight time, and then all the sprint car races, we would, well, I guess you'd race the midget in Illinois and then have to race the sprint car in Pennsylvania 2 days or a day later, so I could be wrong, but I think I was doing a lot of flying, but it was driving every now and again.
Was your dad tagging along with you everywhere you went at this time, or was he still busy trying to get as many races as he can, but still having to run the business?
Yeah, he still goes to pretty much every single one of them, but he was going to every single one of them with me, flying with me everywhere, and, yeah, he was with me along the way the whole time.
Yeah, cool. So after you tell me how the deal with Keith ends, because I mean, I'm sure it was, a friendly split. Hey, I'm going to go rate sprint cars, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I ran 2 years with Keith, and after the first year, I knew that midget racing is not the career path, but I was just kind of in love with the idea that I was a KKM house car driver and it wasn't costing us any money. It wasn't costing my dad money. I was getting paid to race. So it was just, I really liked the idea of it and I was having a ton of fun racing midgets. And then I wanted my goal was to be a sprint car racer, but I wanted to get a USAC championship before I left or an extreme championship. I wasn't able to do that, but, that was the plan. So after the first year, I knew I needed to go race sprint cars. I wanted to get a championship, so I stuck it out another year, or stuck it out maybe isn't the right word. I chose to do another year. At the end of that second year, I told Pete, like, "I love you guys. I really appreciate this opportunity, but this just isn't the career. You can't make a career midget racing, so I need to go focus on sprint cars." And they were totally fine with it and completely understood.
Do you recall what year that was, or how old you were at the time?
I would have been 16, I want to say, or just turned 17 whenever I left Keith. And that would have been, so 23, I wanna say?
Yeah. So where I'm going with this is, you think you were 17. Is the World of Outlaw rule 18 years old?
16.
16. Okay. Okay. So obviously you've raced some sprint cars in there for a while too, because it seems like right on your 16th birthday, you, I want to say, was it up in Grand Forks? You made your World of Outlaw debut.
Yeah, Grand Forks, yep.
Yep. And that debut was great. And sometimes that can be kind of a bad thing because all of a sudden expectations are set. And
Mhm.
it was really cool for you to come out of the box firing there. Tell me just a little bit about that first World of Outlaw start.
Yeah, so it was Grand Forks and Fargo. Grand Forks went good, but Fargo was the one that went really great.
Okay.
Grand
Okay.
Forks, I started 20 in the back, 20th, let's say, ended up ninth, got the hard charger, which I was happy with, and then we go to Fargo and end up running second and passing not Macedo, passing Brad Sweet on a restart, driving around the outside of him, and yeah, it was like I set the world on fire that one weekend, and wow, this Ryan, everyone's saying this Ryan Timms is worth the hype. He's really fast, whatever. Um, and it was really unexpected. I didn't have any expectations. I really didn't know what to think or what a good finishing place would be. But when that happened, it was like I want to say I thought it was just gonna be that easy every time. I thought like I'm that good. Kind of raised my ego a little bit, and 16 years old. And then, at that time, I really was starting to I was getting a lot of hype around my name and starting to pay attention to it a lot, and, um, really caring about what people were saying about me and all this, and, so that happened, and like you said, it's sometimes a bad thing when that happens, and from there, it kinda went downhill.
And don't take me wrong. I didn't want you to say it was a bad thing because, like it's awesome that you can come out and do that your first two ever shows. But like I said, the main point was it's all of a sudden it's expected of you. Like, boom, this guy's got to run top five every night, and you're still only
Right.
16 years old, and you're still working on the maturity game. Because people love to hear things about themselves, and if they're good things, they love to eat that. That's just human nature. So you can't
Mhm.
control that. And as 16-year-old, you're thinking, all right, I think we got this thing covered. And obviously still, quite a bit of learning to do, but at a rapid pace, you did that also.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the expectation thing was where I was agreeing with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because you're 17 racing. Now you're back with Keith and those guys too. So it was 2018 the last year you did the USAC deal, or no, not 2018.
It was let's see, it would have been when I was 17 I left, I
Yep.
think. I
Yep.
think, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you're all of a sudden now you're going to turn your attention to the sprint car side
Yep.
and focus on that, correct? So now you're still in the 5T, correct?
Mhm. Yep.
So tell me about what your guys' schedule, what your plan was. If you're going to make a living driving a sprint car, obviously you got to get out. You're not going to go to all the local shows. You got to get out and start racing with where the money's at.
Mhm. Yep, and that's what we did. We didn't join a tour, but we went if we weren't at a that was when High Limit started, and they had a 10 race schedule, and we hit all of those, well, or most of them at least, and then if we weren't doing that, we were at a lot of Outlaw shows, and then running Houstons, every now and again, and pretty much I mean, that was a miserable year, for me, every outlaw show we went to, we just got our teeth kicked in. We struggled to make shows everywhere. It wasn't good. I knew I needed to race only sprint cars if I wanted to do it, be a sprint car racer. But after, 70, 60, 70 shows, you're kind of like, of just getting your teeth kicked in every night. It's like, exhausting and you're questioning yourself and just not sure if you're cut out for it or whatever. So yeah, it was a pretty rough time, but I got a ton of valuable seat time.
That would have been, was that 2024 then, I believe?
Yes.
Or 20, yeah, something around then.
Yep, that would have been 2024.
Okay. So I would say, tell me about Shane Liebig, because obviously 2025 is when you guys get together. Tell me about how that whole deal. Are we to that point now in your career? Did I miss anything? Because I don't want to
No,
jump ahead.
no, we're to that point. So the end of
Yeah.
2024, me and Shane got together.
Okay. At the end of, yeah, and that's right. But were you still in that, like, we're still getting our teeth bashed in most of the time. I need to find something. Were you looking for something
Well,
different, or did it just kind of come along?
yeah, we were looking for something. We were, well, maybe not looking for something, but open to something different. Um, Not really. Well, so we got to a point where I was just completely over it, like, thinking about quitting. And my dad's, basically telling me, well, you're 18 now. Um, yeah, ever since COVID really hurt his business. And racing is not cheap at all. And he's, paying for all of it. And he's like, I'm spending a ton of money. Maybe he didn't say it that way, but I'm spending a ton of money. We're not getting results. Do you want to do this? You can go get a regular job. And that was kind of where I was on the fence on maybe quitting racing and working for the trucking company or going and doing something else. I was tired of
I mean,
being
was it
gone all the
serious?
time.
Were you
Oh
seriously
yeah.
considering it?
Yep. I was
Wow, that's crazy.
um Yeah, I went to go work in the body shop at the truck shop, for a few weeks just to I was curious, you know, because I'd never done anything but race. So I was like, well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go work here and see how I like it. If, you know, I love it and I don't want to race still after doing it for a month or two, then um I'll do something else. And while that's going on, my dad's calling Charlie Fisher, who Jimmy knew Charlie really well, and that's how we got to know Charlie. And then my dad got pretty tight with him. He's calling Charlie and just saying, "Hey, you know a lot of guys in the sprint car world. Can you put in a good word for Ryan with someone and, you know, try and get someone to take him somewhere and race with him?" And he just told him he'll see what he can do. And then he ended up so at this time, I'm working at the shop and still just kinda unsure about racing, but not totally getting rid of it. Yeah, I wanted to finish the year out and then see what I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
then, Charlie calls him and said, "Guy Forbrook is interested in taking me to Knoxville and Huset's, you know, is that something you're interested in?" He's like, "Heck yeah." He knows of Guy Forbrook. He knows he has a fast race car at Knoxville, and we always sucked at Knoxville, so we're like, "This is the perfect test to see if, oh, maybe I can do it." And we went to Knoxville with Guy. We went quick time, first time out, and then I think we ended up running 4th or 5th there, just kinda new at racing at Knoxville. After that, it was like, "Oh, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe I don't suck after all." And then we went to Huset's and in Guy's car, and I uh, ended up winning, beat passing Reitzel for the win there at the Bull Haulers Brawl, and that was like really exciting. But it was Huset's. I've always ran good at Huset's, so it was kind of like, yeah, well, not expected, but just not as exciting as going quick time in Knoxville was. And then at the same time, we had a a guy that we met through micro racing named Matt Benedetto, who was really good friends with Billy Lawhead, who joined the team while we were doing our 360 deal. And he ended up going and working for my dad at the trucking company. And he's from New Jersey. He knew the Hefner guys out in Pennsylvania and put in a good word and got me some rides in that deal. And so I was going back and forth between Hefner and Fordbrook. I never really was able to do much with Hefner, but it was just a nice change of scenery to go and race for other guys and different types of cars.
What time of the season is this? Is this getting towards the end of the year in 24, or is this still kinda,
Yep.
where are we at?
This is the end of the year. It's
Okay.
after the Nationals for sure.
Okay.
Um, It'd be around September time, and, um, so Shane called Guy up, and my name ended up getting brung up. I think Shane maybe asked, "How did the weekend go with, you know, Ryan?" He'd never heard of me. Shane had no idea who I was, and Guy was like, "Oh, yeah, he's good. He's got potential. He's not, you know, quite outlaw ready or whatever, but he saw something in me and suggested that Shane go and race with me for a weekend and just see how it goes." Guy, we were actually kind of planning on racing the 2025 season with Guy, but Guy was having health issues, so it was kind of on the fence. Um, so Shane said, you know, all right, we'll go try and race I-70 in Missouri, and he just so Guy sent Shane's number to my dad and told Shane and vice versa, sent my dad's number to Shane, told Shane to call my dad, he never called him. So my dad finally called him and asked, "Hey, do you wanna do this?" And, you know, he talked Shane into it, and, so we flew into Missouri or drove or whatever, met him at a hotel parking lot. He expected me to, you know, do something, like how to put my seat in at least, and I just show up with my seat and say, "Alright, here you go." So the first impression wasn't good, and then we show up to the track and end up qualifying quick time, run second to Brad Sweet. So after that, it was like wow, like can't believe that just happened. It was a high limit race, and
Oh, Shane, were you like, I can't believe that happened, or was Shane, or maybe both of you?
it was definitely both of us. He didn't expect me to drive like that, and then I didn't expect the car to be that fast. Um, so yeah, we were both really surprised, and then after that, we were like, "All right, let's go race some more races."
So did you finish out the year racing with him then, kind of hitting some of the bigger stuff?
Yeah, we went to all high limit races and then one outlaw race. It was pretty much the only races left that year. It was Lucas Oil, Texas Motor Speedway, and World Finals. And I was leading the Lucas Oil race and we had a fuel line come loose. And then Texas Motor Speedway, we ran third and fifth. And then World Finals, we ran fourth. The speed was obviously there. And it was like, all right, let's team up for 2025.
Was there wasn't a lot to talk about there, probably. It was like, "Hey, you wanna do this next year or what?"
Yeah, well, I told Shane that I wanted to do it, and he was actually more on the, not really wanting to do it side.
With
Um,
you or just race?
Not with me. He thought the way he made it sound was he thought that I would be better off going to a bigger team with more funding and someone that could race me 90 times a year. He was saying, we could only run Knoxville, Houston, and then a couple here and there. Maybe 50 shows a year. But I told him how I'd rather race 40 or 50 shows in your car than go start something else. I know we have a ton of speed, and he laid out some conditions for me, like moving up to Rapid and being involved with the team. And he was able to get quite a few sponsors to help out, which was really shocking. I didn't really think we'd get any help, and we were able to race however many races we ran last year.
Absolutely. And do you think that Shane bringing you to Rapid City to learn about the race car, do you think that was important for you to start in the maturing of a race car driver to understand what the race car does, parts wise and setup wise and things like that? I'm not saying that you're ready to be a crew chief, but to understand the race car better.
Honestly, I still don't know a ton about the race car or setup. The biggest thing was just when I was back before I got with Shane during the week, I didn't have anything to do. I would just goof off during the week pretty much. I didn't have a job or anything. I think the biggest help was the fact that I moved up there and we had a tire guy and a car chief, Marty, who's still our car chief, and our tire guy quit within the first like week. Um, so then it
Of
was like,
2025?
yeah. So then it was like, all right, I need to step up. And, I learned how to do tires, and then every day I would go to the shop at 8 or 9 and then leave at 4 or 5, and, I actually had, like, a schedule and something to do every day, and I was the tire guy for the first, mm, the first, 3 or 4 months of the year, and, it just kinda gave me a purpose, I guess, and just kinda kept me entertained throughout the week and made me feel like I was doing something that was worthwhile, like I was contributing to the race team.
And actually you are, and that's where, people talk about team chemistry, and I think maybe Shane wanted you to feel a part of that too, because, you know, uh, everything together, so there's no questions, but you're able to be actually a part of the team all week long.
Yeah. No, I think that was the best, decision that he kinda made for me, but the best decision I did.
So, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about 2025, you and the Liebig Motorsports 10 team. Um, Talk a little bit about the early part of the year, because we definitely know how the end of the year turned out for you guys.
Yeah, so the early part of the year, um, coming off of 2024, just we had crazy speed, and I thought, if we're running this good right out of the box, we're gonna always be running this good. Um, so I was just expecting instant uh, wins or results, and we went out to California and just got annihilated out there. We missed, we ran 5 shows out there and missed probably 3 of them. And then when we did make the show, we were running in the back. And so coming back home from California was really kind of depressing, I guess would be the word. And I realized like, well, this isn't it was a humbling experience for sure. This isn't gonna be as easy as I thought it was, but I'm locked in for the year, so gotta, work at it and make the most of it. So I did what I could to make myself better, and Shane was kind of on me a little bit about getting better, not in a rude way, but just kind of a coaching way. And at that point, we were starting to race at Knoxville, and my first laps at Knoxville, first few races at Knoxville were pretty ugly, and I knew that his car was fast there at Knoxville, so I knew it was a me problem. And Shane was patient with me, and we'd go race at Knoxville, Huset's, and then come back, watch film, talk about it, figure out what needed to be better, and just slowly progressed.
Do you think watching film is a way a guy can actually get better? I'm not asking that as a smart aleck. I'm just saying is I've never sat between the rails of one of those things that you guys sit in. Can you learn stuff by watching, like, hopefully your car and saying, "Oh, this is a mistake I made," or something like that? What do you take away from watching the film?
Yeah, you can learn a ton watching film as long as, you're open-minded about it and want to get better. At first, I think the biggest thing for me at first was just getting comfortable at Knoxville, which I'd say took 3 races, getting comfortable with the speed of Knoxville, and then just the way his car handles is a little different than what I was used to at Knoxville. And so once I got comfortable enough, then we could start watching film and breaking down. Like we'd start with qualifying and then heat race. Watch every part of the night and break it down to literally like your right rear is a tire with too high here, too low, whatever, and that's causing this or whatever. And then come to A feature time, break it down to moves you make or moves I made. That have a factor with 2 corners later or corner later or momentum. I mean, yeah, you can get really technical about it and break it down into little pieces.
Yeah. So that's interesting to know. That's something that I've never nobody's ever talked about on the show. So kudos to you for figuring that out. My question would be is do you guys get a designated camera person then to keep something on your car? Because you can't go off of dirt vision because they're not going to keep the camera on you the whole time you're out there racing.
Yeah, that's where I definitely have an advantage, and I'm really fortunate with is my dad goes to all the races and he videos on his phone from the grandstands, and he does a great job of videoing. He zooms in all the way around. He doesn't even watch the race. He's watching the race through his phone. Um, so he's videoed me through my entire racing career, through the micro days, everything. Um, and I would watch it for fun. I would only watch when I win, of course,
Yeah.
and I'd watch it for
Not
fun.
when you sucked, right? Not when you were making mistakes.
Right. So when I got with Shane, he's like, "Pull the video up and we're gonna watch this." We'd, pause it, slow it down, put it in slow mo, put it up on the big TV in his living room, and just break it down into little pieces. And every week, I would know what I struggled with and what I needed to work on. And it's still this way, maybe not as extreme, but I'd keep that in my mind and be intentional with making sure that I at least was trying to get better in that area.
Yeah. And obviously it worked out because they have this race in Knoxville in August, the Knoxville Nationals. It's kind of a big race.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Let's say, yeah. Um, Tell me about your Knoxville Nationals last year. First of all, expectations rolling in, qualifying night, and then that final night.
Yeah, expectations were for me, I didn't really have any expectations. Well, I'd say my expectation was to make the show. Um, that was my goal. Um, but at the same time, I was aiming past that. I wanted to make the show, but I just wanted to do the best that I could. Um, and we went to the Cappy on Sunday. We started with 360 Nationals, and that went really well. And then we go to Cappy, and it didn't go so well. We struggled pretty bad at the Cappy. I was pretty sloppy. And then going into Oskaloosa, kind of same deal. I'm just kind of sloppy, but there was still some positives to take away. But honestly, leading up to my prelim night, like there wasn't a ton of positives to make me think I was gonna win my prelim night or, do well. But I just went into it with the mindset of, do the best I can and whatever the outcome is, it is what it is. I didn't expect myself to win it, and, it was like things just clicked. I knew that that was my opportunity to shine, and if there's any race that you need to be focused for, it's that one, and, it's just crazy. To win the prelim, didn't I was just kinda hoping for by the time I got through my heat race, I was just hoping I ran top 5, good enough to be, like, in the top 5 rows of the nationals, and, we end up showing out there, and it was
Where did you
just
start the qualifying feature from? What spot? Do you remember?
8th place.
Oh, you were the high point car going into the feature to boot.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
and,
Yeah.
so, yeah, we win the race, and I was on cloud 9 that night, just super pumped. I didn't even care about not that I didn't care. I was just that was good for me. I was happy to win the prelim, and that was a successful weekend. But by the next night, I knew, just I gotta forget about it and focus on the big one.
Tell me, do you have a meeting with Shane? Do you guys talk for the next day or two, leading up to Saturday? Do you guys put a plan together, or was it just kind of everybody knew that they had a job to do and go about their business?
Yeah, it was everyone knew they had a job to do, and everyone kinda kept to themselves. The only thing that I can remember really talking to Shane about was it's done and over with. The big one that we want is on Saturday, so forget about everything that just happened and focus on that. And then other than that, there was no plan really. Saturday night, we stood in 1 and 2 and watched the C and B main, um, and then just kind of observed the track and came up with an idea. We didn't want to plan anything, and have it backfire. Or you never want to plan, really, I don't think. But just observed the track and thought what was the best thing to do for me, starting on the pole, like what line I should run and whatnot. And then, yeah, just went from there.
Do you think the film watching sessions over the course of the year last year helped prepare you for that Knoxville race?
Yeah, I do. I think there was other factors that prepared me more, like, film watching, of course, but just racing at Knoxville that many times and having their 6 car well, now it's a 4 car invert, but having their 6 car inverts in the heat race and then having their A main invert, so having to pass cars there every week. And then, honestly, just mentally preparing myself, like, knowing, treating the nationals like it was just another race and just doing everything I needed to do in my head to not overwhelm myself or fold under the pressure or make mistakes. Uh,
So Saturday night comes around and you're four wide, the parade for 50 laps coming up, and What are your thoughts rolling down the backstretch, getting ready to come to green?
Yeah, I was really taking that 4 wide all in. That was probably not the best part, obviously, but that was one of my favorite parts of the weekend. Being on the pole of the nationals, it was kinda just like just I just really enjoyed it. I knew that it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I knew that I might not ever get to experience that again. So I was just soaking it all in, and then they have the fireworks go off, and you got smoke everywhere. So then you're pacing around for a few laps, and it's like, let's just get this thing going.
Yeah.
So yeah, that four wide, it was awesome though.
Yeah. So then you're rolling down the backstretch, getting ready to come to green, a whole different frame of mind. I mean, concentrating who was starting beside you, and how you get down that front straightaway, and how important that was to lead the early part of the race.
Yeah, Carson Macedo started on my outside. I thought he was gonna give me a lot tougher of a time, on that start, but I think, him starting on the outside, there wasn't a lot of moisture there, so I obviously had the advantage being on the inside, but it was just my main focus was just turn 1 was getting the jump on the start and then being the leader going into 1, and then hitting the bottom and not missing it, and then after that, I do all that good, and then I wasn't sure where the line was gonna be in 3 and 4. I had a good idea that it was gonna be on the bottom for the first few laps in 1 and 2. So I ran the bottom in 3 and 4, and it didn't feel very good, and, I just kinda took a guess that, I think the top is gonna be better, and luckily for me, that was the right guess. So we get through the first 3 or 4 corners. I knew I could lead the first few laps, but it took me 4 or 5 laps to get kinda going. I was a little sloppy at the beginning, and then once I got in a rhythm after those 4 or 5 laps, it was like I was so focused on just the track and my car and doing what I needed to do, um, that so that I didn't mess up and let whoever was in second catch up to me. And then the other biggest thing that was in my mind was lap traffic. I knew I was gonna get there pretty quick, and I couldn't waste any time behind any of those guys. And it was kinda like a do or die kinda deal when I got to lap traffic. Like, I'm sliding up. I don't care if you're there or not. I'm leading the nationals. I'm getting through you guys. And luckily for me, I had a fast enough car. I could kind of go wherever I needed to, and it seemed to work.
So, you get to that 25 lap break or, within 24, 25, 26 laps. What's Shane tell you?
He tells me, well, I ask him, am I doing good? Am I doing everything I need to be doing? Is someone catching me? Do I need to change my line? Was my biggest question.
Yeah, you've led the whole race and it's hard not to know if there's something else is coming in.
Right.
Yep.
And he just told me, no, you're doing everything perfect. Don't change anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that's really it. And then the next task was I was out of tear offs. So we were just stressing putting tear offs on. I didn't
Oh, yeah.
prepare a second helmet like I should have, but was able to get that deal done. And then I was actually glad that we had that problem because it took a lot of the thinking out of that 25 break.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you had to get your helmet ready. So you
right.
guys go green, and obviously the rest is history. I'm gonna assume you had the same state of mind the last 25 as the first 25, but you take the white flag, and I'm just wondering, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
Not the
so
checkered flag, the white flag.
right. So I'm looking at the board. Well, we get going on the second 25. We get like 10 laps in, and then I start looking at the board to see how many laps are left. And I see we're on lap like 40, and I'm just thinking, like, wow, I've led 40. It's almost done. Just focus, don't screw up, just keep doing what I'm doing. Um, And then we have that I look up at the board with 5 to go, and at that point, it's like kinda like a wow, like, I'm getting excited, like, this could actually happen, and, then the yellow comes out with 4 to go, and I was actually thankful a little bit for that yellow because I didn't really wanna be in lap traffic. I knew that that was the worst case for me was being in lap traffic. I had the best shot of pulling away in clean air. So I seen the yellow, I was kinda like, "Alright, just chill." I wasn't really wound up, but just chill out, keep doing the same exact thing. I've been doing it for 45 laps. Just keep doing what I've been doing. It's not hard, surely.
Who was in second? Do you remember?
Carson Macedo was. So that was
Okay, he was still there.
reassuring. Yeah, because 'cause he'd been in second the entire race up until that point, so I seen that, and I'm just assuming, "Alright, I got it. I'm in clean air. He hasn't caught up to me 45 laps in. Surely I'm okay." And we get going, and it was kinda, yeah, like, just coasting around there, as Gravel said, driving a or Rico said, "Driving a Cadillac." Um, and, I get to, I think, either the last lap or 2 laps to go, and then I get this voice in my head like, "Don't miss the bottom, don't screw up." Like, I start kinda worrying a little bit that I'm gonna mess up, and, I basically just told it to shut up and started doing my thing again, and, yeah, that last lap felt like it was an eternity. It felt like it went in slow motion, and when I crossed the line, I mean, it was like it was excitement, but it was just pure just shock. Like, I could not it didn't feel real whatsoever.
Yeah, and you know by now nobody was within the same zip code or you the whole race.
Right.
Yeah, but, still, you get that done, and it's hard to think about a six-year-old kid that crashed his first kart out that didn't wanna race, and now he's winning the Knoxville Nationals.
Yeah. It was just unbelievable. Yeah, I didn't have anything to prove to anyone. I didn't feel like, no one thought I could win. No one thought I would win. Um, I knew I could win, but I didn't really think it would happen. Um, so it was unbelievable, and it was the happiest day of my life, no doubt. But yeah, it definitely took, like, 3 days to fully set in and, like, understood what happened.
I think you guys were still over at turn 2 when the sun came up, weren't you?
No, not
Celebrating?
quite. Not
Okay.
quite. We didn't get
I know
done
you guys
taking
stayed for a long
pictures.
time.
Yeah, we did. It was about
Yeah.
1 or 2 in the morning when we got done, like, signing stuff and taking pictures and all of that, and then, I went over with my friends to the party barn in 3 and 4 and hung out for a couple hours, and then we
Yeah.
were back home by 4, but, I was so just mentally exhausted and, like, kinda overwhelmed with what had happened. Like, people were telling me, "Good job, I can't believe what you did, blah, blah, blah," and all I could say was just thanks. Like,
Yeah.
it really never registered until, like I said, 3 days later.
And you have a crew chief in Shane Liebig. And a lot of people might not know about Shane, but I've been lucky enough. I'm a South Dakota guy too. Shane Liebig has been a sprint car guy his whole life, and he really took the sport up seriously here a couple years ago. But tell me, when it comes to Shane, you put him up against any other crew chiefs out there today?
I'm 100% confident in his ability to set a race car up. There's, some tracks that we could probably be better at, whether it's me or him. Majority, I'd put him up against anyone, anywhere.
Yeah, and I'd love to. We could do a story on Shane Liebig because it lives in his blood too, from his dad to himself. And Shane was a pretty good driver back in his day. Also, a lot of people might not even know that, but so Shane Liebig's definitely been around the block. I wanted to make sure I touched on that a little bit during the show, and just thought I'd throw it in right now. So we know Knoxville's a big deal, and we know that you shocked the world and you shocked yourself. But dang it, that your name's in there for the rest of history. But you guys have still got more racing to do.
Yeah.
So, why not head out to Pennsylvania? They got a few good racers out that way and try this Tusky 50 thing. And I
Yeah.
don't know how many times you've been to Port Royal in the past, but I can tell you it was a 3-day show. And the first night you ran 21st, and the second night you moved up to 16th, and then you show up and waxed them.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that weekend. First of all, how many times have you been to Port? And then what was so different that final night compared to the first 2 nights?
So I've probably been to Port before Tusky. I'd been there 5 to 10 times, I would guess. So I've been there a few times, and the first couple nights, I was off my game for I want to say I don't know. We'll just say I was off my game the first couple nights, and it seemed like no matter what I did or what I tried, I was just slow. And come Saturday night, Shane told me that he changed everything on the car, and we're trying something completely different. And which I do think he did hit on a couple things, but not like he was acting like he made it sound like 4 new shocks, 4 new bars, 4 like different wings, everything. And so I'm expecting it to be a whole new car. And we go out and qualify quick time and run a good heat and start 8th in the main. And I'm starting 8th. I'm with how I ran the last 2 nights, I'm just hoping that I finish like a 5th place would be awesome. I'd be super happy with that. And we start the main, and there was no pressure really because same deal as Knoxville. No one I thought I had a better chance of winning Knoxville than Tusky. I just never would have imagined that I was gonna win the Tusky that weekend. And we get going, and it's like wherever I put the thing, it is super fast. I'm going through the middle, bottom, top. Um, and then me and Shane, we did a lot of film watching that weekend too, of him showing me where I could have been better, and I took it all in and felt like I improved a ton Saturday night. And yeah, it was crazy. I mean, we just drove past everyone and ended up stretching the lead out to 7 seconds or whatever it was. That one was super exciting, just super unexpected, and then to be me and Wolfgang were the only ones to do that, and Kenny Weld, I think. That just to have my name in the same category as him in something and Kenny Weld is like it was a super special weekend.
Yeah, it was crazy when I saw the results. I was just like, "Wow, that's crazy." That's so good for him to be able to go out and do that. And it's got to be a good way. You're towards the end of the year then too to wrap that up. You got more momentum going on, and you guys are obviously as a team learning to adapt for different tracks and different situations, and how to get through those slower nights, off nights, 21st, 16th, and then hey, we get one more chance at this. This is what we're going to do. So I was looking at you guys' results for this year, and it started off a little slow, you know,
Mhm.
but man,
Yep.
these last 3 weeks, it's been lights out for the 10 car again. You go to Knoxville, you run third both nights with the World of Outlaws. You go back to Knoxville the following week and you win, and then you go to Knoxville the following week and you run second on a track that unfortunately probably wasn't as racy as the Duncans would like to have it. Everybody's allowed to make a few mistakes every now and then, and I know that they'll get that resolved. But
Mhm.
where you probably had a chance to win that race, and like we talked about to start the show, Houston's where you're going to win that race, I think. Or Austin's gonna. You were awesome, but it looked like you had him cleared and you were gone. So 5 races, no worse than second up until officially it's 12th. But have you guys found your midseason form? What is it? Is it because you're back up in your familiar grounds, or is it just because sometimes that's how it rolls?
Honestly, I think it's so we struggled in Vegas, we struggled in Florida, and then after that, we went to Central Arizona, Vado, 81. Um, we struggled at US 36. But aside from that, we ran in the top 10 everywhere. We ran top 10 in Central Arizona both nights. Vado, we ran third, 81 second, third at the Knoxville Outlaw show. I think it was
Yeah.
just we're doing good at tracks that we struggled at last year that isn't familiar ground, and I think the beginning of the year struggles was just beginning of the year, shaking the rust off everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys, I'd say you guys are definitely in good shape. Now, my question is, a couple races at Eldora coming up this weekend. Are you guys going to start hitting some of the bigger money shows, or are you going to try to stay loyal to Knoxville and try to win that championship? What are the plans for the 10 car as the season progresses?
Yeah, it'll be pretty much the same thing we did last year. We'll run Huset's every single weekend and Knoxville every single weekend with the exception of Kings Royal weekend. We'll miss Knoxville for that. And then we got I know Eagle, the 50,000 to win at Eagles coming up. We'll be there for that. And, the Outlaws come to Houston quite a few times. The Outlaws come to Knoxville a few times. So there's some big races coming up, but yeah, we're kind of focusing on our main focus is Knoxville and Houston, and then
Yeah.
just preparing for the big ones.
Yeah. So I got to just ask you a quick question. It has nothing to do with anything between you and me, but you've got a guy named Orville Chenowitz that helps you guys out a little bit too. Him and Shane have been probably lifelong friends. Tell me what you know about Orville.
Orville, he's great stuff. I didn't expect his name to be brung up in this podcast, but so the first time that me and Shane and everyone met, when we showed up in the hotel parking lot, I didn't know who was who. I didn't know who Shane was, but Orville was there, and he's the old guy, so you assume the old guy's the car owner. And I walk up to Orville and say, "Hey, you own this thing?" And he didn't say anything. He just pointed at Shane and shook his head. And yeah, Orville, he's great. He just tags along with us. He goes to it seems like every single race. We'll
The reason,
leave her. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. The reason I brought him up is I've known Orville since I was about 15, 16 years old. He was the promoter at the Dakota State Fair Speedway here in South Dakota for many, many years. And I told Orville for the last 25 years, winged sprint car racing is where it's at, dude. But he was a big late model and fender
He
guy.
still is.
I know, but I still get to work him when I see him at the races. Like, dude, you finally came over to, and I shouldn't say it because my boys race fenders too. I don't have a preference, but I was always sprint cars number one. So
Yep.
I was able to, and Orville's always taken it in a good way.
Yep.
Orville has a great sense of humor too. So that's why I just want to let you know that he is, if you didn't know, he's a fender guy too.
Yeah, I knew that. We were planning. I've heard plenty of Huron stories. I still do. We were planning on going and racing Huron last year, but it rained out, and then he ended up getting rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Orville is a good guy too. So I
Yes.
know him and Shane have been friends for many, many years. So
Yep. Awesome person.
yeah, dude, hour and 41 minutes. I told you an hour. I appreciate you so much for coming on the show, short notice. It's been fun getting to know you a little bit better, picking your brain and learning a lot about you. Wish you nothing but success over the 2026 season, you and the whole Liebig team. And I always love stopping by and seeing you guys at the trailer.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on here, and it was fun. I really enjoyed this.
Cool. All right. So everybody, that is Ryan Timms. Check him out at Knoxville Raceway, Houston's Raceway, or anywhere there's a big bank account that they're trying to pay out. So thanks again, Ryan. We'll see you down the road.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in again this week. Talk about some great stuff from Ryan Timms. Man, I didn't realize we're about an hour and a half plus into that show, and I still had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk to him about. So, Ryan, great job, sharing stuff with us. Ryan, just once again, appreciate you coming on and opening up a little bit about everything from last week's race at Houston, everything from the beginning and how you got to where you are, and some of the details, how your race team works. It was just, it was great visiting with him too. Folks, also, thank you for tuning in and listening. I appreciate you very much. The people that follow along, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. If you see me at the racetrack, I'm going to be out at Eldora this weekend with Donnie. Any of the other racetracks, hey, give me a shout. I would love to meet some people and see your faces and let you know that I appreciate you tuning in. Like I said at the beginning, if you can do me a favor, tell your friends, share my stuff with them. Tell them to check me out, like my stuff, follow, subscribe. Takes just a second. that's going to do it for this week. We're going to try to get back on a more regular schedule here. Still got a couple weeks left with Hefty, and then things will get more structured again through the summer. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.